Hello and welcome to Network. My name is Sphumelele Zondi with your technology and social media news. If you want to be a part of this technology conversation, remember to hashtag us on SABC Network. You can also find us on SABC Network. That's on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Our email address is newsnetwork@sabc.co.za on email. Here's what's coming up in the program. Tech researchers make their 2018 predictions. They include artificial intelligence and cybersecurity. New data reveals that young people are less interested in Facebook and migrating to other social networking platforms. And after Zulu King's Welithini received a call that was trying to sell him insurance, Product of the Year CEO Pritesh Suraj joins me in studio to discuss how such companies get our private data without our consent. Hello and welcome to Network, Pritesh.
Thanks, and thanks for having me on.
Do they get these details in a legal manner?
It generally is legal, but not necessarily ethical.
All right, we'll have a further discussion about that later in the program. But first, let's start with your technology and social media news. Now, raising robots to be a part of our society is a growing trend, according to Accenture. The digital consulting company, as well as the International Data Corporation, revealed this year's technology trends.
We are 2 months into 2018, and with the new year comes refreshed concepts and new trends across industries. The information communications and technology sector this week revealed some of the new trends of 2018.
I think there are a couple of pockets where growth is going to be. I think one of them will be IoT. How do we leverage Internet of Things to deliver public services, and also in enterprise segments, in manufacturing, transportation, and smart cities, also in cloud. Leveraging platforms to deliver scale for, in the financial sector, also in public services, as it were. Of course, there are also, security, which is a big concern. We've seen some breaches that have happened within South Africa and abroad. So there will be also a very great focus on security. How do we manage and how do we safeguard some of the resources and assets that we have, going forward?
Along with cybersecurity is the growing trend of artificial intelligence.
That's why we say that we now have to think about raising AI. It is so much a part of our lives now, and it's starting to make autonomous decisions on our behalf that has just as much impact as the people that are putting them in use, such that we have to now consider them to be responsible members of society, and that's why we call them citizen AI.
However, with raising AI as responsible citizens arises the concern of job losses.
I'm glad that the caveman walked out of the cave because of technology. I recognize that technology will be with us always, and I recognize that it will take jobs. No doubt about it. What I am hoping for and what I am hopeful of is that it will create more jobs than it takes away. And I think that there is going to be a lag. Young people are their own economists, and they understand that when a machine can do something better than them, they are the ones that are going to suffer. But as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter if we have all these wonderful machines. The imperative on us as human beings is to be able to use the machine capability we have to create jobs, because a machine does not buy food, a machine does not buy electricity, a machine does not buy clothes, it does not buy education, it does not buy anything human beings do.
Having been a global trend in the 21st century, the Internet of Things, otherwise known as IoT, is, according to the International Data Corporation, growing at a fast pace here in Africa.
IoT is already big on the continent, and it's growing very fast. It's far bigger than people think. There are tremendous amounts of IoT technology already in place, a lot of new projects coming through. So it's driving a lot of spend in connectivity, for example, on the telco side. There's a tremendous amount of focus happening in areas like transportation, public sector, utilities, a tremendous amount of focus. So high growth, good revenues already, absolutely accelerating innovation.
Another ICT 2018 trend is the so-called extended reality, which is demonstrated by this hologram. This technology includes virtual and augmented reality.
We're talking extended reality, and there's no doubt that extended reality will change the way we engage with our employees, our customers, and our stakeholders, because we are seeing what we call the disappearance of distance.
The IDC and Accenture revealed these ICT trends last week.
It seems a lot of research coming out shows that millennials and teenagers aren't as interested on being on Facebook as they used to be. Millennials are people born between 1980 and 2000. Researchers say it's their parents who are now joining Facebook. Researchers from eMarketer in Britain say Facebook is increasingly becoming a social network for over 55s. They say younger people are moving to other social networks. This is consistent with research from other parts of the world. Here in South Africa, we went to Tshwane University of Technology's Soshanguve campus to find out what first-year students there love.
Instagram, it's also fun, and you see how people are living as well.
Twitter, because on Twitter, people black Twitter, you know how people say on Twitter.
As Twitter, I like it because I get everything that I need to know.
Clinical psychologist Joy Ngona-Tabid believes young people are posting less on Facebook because their parents are on it.
So you find that there's more monitoring of the activities that are on Facebook, or what I would be doing on Facebook by, for example, my parent. Children and teenagers are generally uncomfortable with that because most times they get addressed with some of the things that they would post or some of the things that they would say.
She says there are many reasons over 55s would need Facebook.
For some parents, they are using it as a way of advertising their own businesses, their own profession, and also reaching out to trying to understand what's happening in the world. Despite many posting less, some say they see Facebook as a good platform to access news.
It has to be Facebook. Facebook being is a place where I get my news. It's a place where everyone is they have access to it.
My favorite social media platform would be Facebook, simply because it's easily accessible and much cheaper compared to Instagram and stuff.
Facebook is very easily accessible, and now on Cell C we have free Facebook.
Instagram and Snapchat are said to be social media platforms young people have moved to. Huawei has launched a new device. It is the medium-range Huawei P-Smart. Producer Sandile Hlangane went to the launch.
Chinese telecommunications giant Huawei has advanced its consumer product offerings by launching its all-new Huawei smartphone.
Huawei has been trying for a long time now to answer the consumer needs. We make incredible flagship products. What about the mid-tier? What about the entry? And it wasn't so much for us to just go and drive market share and just flood the market with a whole lot of product. But can we bring something with excellent quality, innovation, with a fun element, but at the right price point? And this is a struggle for everybody, and we finally managed to do it.
The P-Smart, which will be the best choice for young people, offers 5.6-inch size screen with the highest levels of performance due to the use of 3G of memory.
If you look at the theme of this event today, it's very young, it's very vibrant, it's targeted at the youth element, it's about boundless fun, being unconventional. But the core message of being unconventional and different is, what are we doing differently?
The smartphone also introduces facial recognition and the fourth generation of high-speed fingerprint technology that can read users' fingerprint. It also has the best comprehensive features for photography lovers, combining 30 megapixels and 2 megapixel sensors.
In the P-Smart, I think the highlights really are the full view display as well as the dual camera setup. Now, traditionally, these kinds of specs are reserved for the high end. We only introduced our first full view display with the Mate 10 Pro a few months ago, which is 18,000 Rand. If you look at our competitors, you're going 8,000 or above for a phone with a full view display or a dual camera setup, and now we've got both at a product that comes in at just 3,999. So what we are actually doing here and saying to our consumers is, we finally answered your question. We are bridging that gap between mid-tier and flagship. You could now have a flagship experience by paying just $4,000 for a smartphone.
Bloggers and journalists say they are confident that Huawei is on the right path.
They've really kind of cornered the market in terms of getting the price point correct, and I think the P-Smart is another example of that, and I think it should do well.
The Chinese work hard, and the stuff that they're coming out with, I mean, it's been impressing people for generations actually, so it's nothing new.
The recommended price is 4,000.
After the break, we chat about how legal it is for companies to call us to ask for new businesses from us. Now, Product of the Year CEO Pritesh Suraj is in studio for that one. Stay with us.
South Africa is in need of a frank dialogue about the state of our nation. My name is Onkgopotse JJ Tabane. Join me on Frankly Speaking every Sunday at 8:30. Come now, let's talk frankly.
We take an in-depth look of all your stories of the day across the world. Stay tuned to Primetime News every day from 18 hours. News at 9. We go beyond the headlines of the day's breaking news to bring you all the angles and in-depth analysis of stories. We go beyond the surface, including on how it will impact your life. Join us every day at 9 to zoom in on the day's big stories.
It is the SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za on email. Thank you very much for staying with Network. Now, reports say the Zulu royal family will be taking legal action against insurance company Huawei. This is after leaked audio of an insurance call center agent who phoned the king unknowingly to sell him insurance. Now, the caller, not knowing he is addressing the king, greets him by his first name. The king then reprimands him in a way. After the conversation between the call center agent and the king, an audio recording of it then appeared in the public domain. The Zulu royal family says Huawei Insurance has violated the Consumer Protection Act by doing this. That is why they say they are taking legal action against the insurer. Now, Product of the Year Chief Executive Officer Pritesh Suraj joins me in studio to discuss this further. Hello, Pritesh.
Hi, and thanks for having me on.
All right, it's a pleasure. Now, should Huawei have released the audio?
Absolutely not. I think we can look at it from a personal perspective. I wouldn't want any of that audio released if I was speaking to a call center agent. That was one. Two, if you've actually listened to the audio, you'll also realize that at no point was King Goodwill Zwelithini actually advised that he was being recorded. And when you actually get this audio and release it without informing anyone, you have some serious repercussions from that.
So does the royal family have a leg to stand on with the legal action they want to take?
They definitely do, because this was a private conversation. He was contacted without his request. So they do have a legal argument to be able to go to the authorities and say that they were improperly treated by Huawei.
When they make these recordings, when they're calling us, what do they do with them? What are they supposed to do with them?
So you'll generally find that the communication we're given is we're told that this is for quality purposes, but in reality, verbal contracts actually happen. So in one of these recordings, if you say, yes, I would like this and please go ahead, that's a meeting of minds. So they can conclude contracts over the phone in certain cases. And this is why the recording is so important to organizations.
All right. So it's pretty much a contract between myself and the organization. Mm-hmm. No one else is really supposed to hear it.
No one's supposed to hear it. No one should have access to it. But even to the next point is, as I said at the beginning, you should be informed that you're being recorded right at the onset, because it gives you the option to opt out. You can say, I do not want to be recorded. Let's not proceed with this. Let's meet face to face and discuss this further. There's so many different avenues you can go down. But when you're not advised that you're being recorded and that goes on to a point where it's released, there's some big issues there.
Where do these companies get private phone numbers of citizens?
Well, there's multiple sources, but one of the areas is obviously through institutions where we release this information to. A few years ago, I was sitting with somebody who had a computer system where I literally just had to give them my first name and my surname, and they were able to pull up, based on that, my ID number, property owned, vehicle, the last cell phone contract. So whenever we volunteer information to large organizations, whether it's financial organizations or telecoms organizations, sometimes that information is then sold on to marketing partners.
Are they supposed to sell this information?
They shouldn't sell it because it's not ethical. And the way they get around it and the legality of it is that sometimes on your contract there's a little tick box at the bottom that says, do you give us permission to share your details with our partners who may be able to share some great deals with you? And you go through a contract and you say, oh, this doesn't mean anything. And you tick the box. So you've opted into the process, allowing them to then sell your information. So they don't tell you they're selling it, but the mechanism that they use is selling your information to another third party who then comes and markets to you.
But would they only sell it if you've given them permission? Are there cases when they would sell without any permission granted?
So it's hard to say because you don't know the inner workings of organizations. It may happen, especially with unscrupulous organizations out there. But generally, from a legal standpoint, if they really want to protect themselves, they look at those contracts where it's tick box that says, yes, you're allowed to sell this information. Well, not sell it, you're allowed to share my information, and then only they sell the information to other companies. But it's likely that it is happening. It's just that no one's challenging it to the point to get to the root cause to find out whether the information was ticked on the box and whether it was shared legally.
When they call you, can you ask them where they got the information from? Should they tell you where they got your private information from?
Yes, it's your information. The Protection of Personal Information Act is really treating our personal information as a precious goods, as a precious commodity. So when somebody does call you, they've got something precious of yours in their side. So you're allowed to say, where did you get my information? How did you source this? And you have the right, as the act comes to act, to ask them to delete it and get rid of it totally.
Let's talk about that. What is the Protection of Personal Information Act?
So it's basically an act designed to protect us as the South African public and protect our personal information. We are living in an information age where the new commodity right now, the new gold rush, is really an information rush of information. And what's happening is that a lot of unscrupulous marketing companies are using this information to enrich themselves. The Information Authority, the regulator that's being set up, is really there to protect us and ensure that no unscrupulous company uses our precious personal information to enrich themselves to our detriment.
And when is it coming into effect?
So the actual Protection of Personal Information Act was signed into law by former President Jacob Zuma in 2013. But it doesn't actually mean the act comes into place. It really means that then the mechanisms can be set up for the act to come into place. As we stand right now, the information regulator had a chairperson who was appointed in 2016, Advocate Phansi Hlakula, but there's still a lot of work being done. So right now, current best estimates is that the act should come into play anytime between April and December of this year. But really, the information regulator will only be up to speed to process our complaints next year.
Pritesh, you are saying that these companies are not supposed to, and you can ask them, but a lot of the time when you ask them, they say that's private information and they're not going to tell you where they get information from. So should you insist on it? What should be the case there?
You should insist, and it's very likely that they'll refuse to give you, because the call center agent does not know where the information came from. This is purely somebody who's hired and given a database and saying, go make calls. What you can do is request to speak to someone high up the chain and ask them to call you, or you get their details. But it's very unlikely that they're going to share that. But you can say, please delete my information and don't call me. Very unlikely that's going to happen in this current state because a lot of companies just ignore that.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
All right. Pritesh Suraj there is CEO of Product of the Year. Now, this week, we caught up with the TV presenter and actress Boidi Tulo. She told us what her favorite technology is.
Hi guys, my name is Boidi Tulo, and my favorite piece of technology, it has to be my cell phone because I literally run my entire life from it. I run my business from it. I do any and everything with my cell phone, so can't live without it. So it has to be my best piece of technology.
An exciting opportunity and an absolute must for those with the spirit of adventure is a Kruger Park night game drive.
The railway station itself is already a sight to behold and offers gracious colonial-style buildings and serves as the departure and arrival point for all train journeys.
I wanted to dress with my best color. Being awarded to do the Serpentine Pavilion is the highest commission in my career. And I wanted just to come and show me with my best clothes, and that is blue.
Catch Trains Travel every Sunday from 12 to 1 for all the global travel and leisure trends.
News network at sabc.co.za on email. Thank you very much for being a part of our network. Now, consumer goods giant Unilever has threatened to pull investment from digital platforms such as Facebook and Google, and an Israeli tech firm undercuts facial recognition to bolster privacy. These are some of the top tech stories that made headlines in the last week.
Unilever threatens online ad cuts to clean up internet. The consumer goods giant has threatened to pull investment from digital platforms such as Facebook and Google that, according to the company, create division in society or fail to protect children. Keith Weed, Chief Marketing Officer at the maker of Ben & Jerry's ice cream and Dove soap, announced the company's plan in a speech on Monday at the annual Interactive Advertising Bureau conference in California. In the speech, Weed called on technology industry to improve transparency and consumer trust in an era of fake news and toxic online content. Now heading over to Israel. Big Brother is watching, but in the future he may no longer be so all-knowing. Riding the wave of a global push to comply with new privacy standards, a small Israeli company believes it can help you and your face stay anonymous in a hyper-connected world.
Our photos contain biometric data. Using them and face recognition, anyone can track you, steal your identity, and hack your devices. Samsung's Face Unlock feature is being hacked using photos, and Apple's iPhone X has already been hacked. Using face recognition, anyone can reveal sensitive personal information about you.
The startup called DID says it has developed a firewall to block facial recognition. The ubiquitous technology that can now unlock smartphones, tag friends on Facebook, or help police pick out an individual hiding in a crowd. Into Venezuela we go. In tech hubs from San Francisco to Tokyo, payment is routinely made through software on phones and watches. Amid a dire economic crisis in Venezuela, though for very different reasons, a similar innovation is taking hold.
We saw in 2010 and 2011 that the electronic pay was going to be a trend. It was a global trend. What ends up happening in the end is that there are countries, for different respective reasons, this eventually escalated. And so, perhaps our economy will be cashless before Denmark, which is one of the countries that has put more effort into this.
Creating an app in Venezuela usually requires little capital, given low salary expectations from coders and near free electricity and data costs. Despite some of the world's lowest internet speeds and a significant fraction of the population without bank accounts and cell phones, cash is falling out of favor in Venezuela.
Now this week, our Twitter poll has been asking you which platform has kept you updated about recent political happenings in South Africa. Now 80% of respondents say they've been getting info from social media. A very low 3% say from news websites. 14% of respondents say television. That figure is in second place. And another low 3% say other platforms. That's it. That's all we have for you. Find us on SABC Network. Now that's on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Use network at sabc.co.za on email. We leave you with visuals of robots hitting the slopes at the Winter Olympics. From me and the rest of the network team, have a good one. Bye-bye.
So the issue of waves is that don't underestimate yourself. You are exactly the cornerstone of the solutions we are looking for.
To go and intervene and make sure that people respect the Constitution.
Now, if drug dealers are paying political leaders, then you will never get rid of that problem.
We need to see detail that we will not see further bailouts.
Fidel, a towering figure of the 20th century.
Stay tuned to PM News for all your news updates every Saturday and Sunday from 1500 hours.
This is your midday report. Good afternoon.
I will be faithful.
I assume as President of the Republic of Kenya.
Let's take a look at how African markets and currencies are performing now.
The central bankers say the success of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies is just a bubble.
Breaking stories, detailed economy and sport. Tune into Midday Report every Monday to Friday from 12 p.m.
When life takes a different turn.
If I didn't eat the speak, he was going to evict me.
Your will to persevere is ignited.
I'm not a professional speaker, but I'll try my best to give you a word of inspiration.
He was just trying to provide for his family.
If you can't accept it, change it. If you cannot change it, accept it.
And a new story begins.
Made a resolve to myself. I'm learning something new.
Upilong, every Friday at 5:30. Be part of the life-changing journey.